Democrats are not just fighting for waste, fraud, and abuse. They're also once again bemoaning free speech. But luckily, VP JD put their BS out to pasture. Oh, and they're putting their full insanity on display, marching and singing their way on the yellow brick road to the wrong side of history. But luckily for us all, it is Liberal Tuesday, and I happen to have a real life Democrat waiting in the wings to defend it all. The show starts in just a moment, but first, a word from our sponsors. As we welcome a new year, it's time to focus on what matters most, creating healthier habits, enjoying more moments with family, spending less money on going out to eat. Well, GoodRanchers.com is here to help you turn all of your resolutions into solutions. When you buy your meat from Good Ranchers, you're directly supporting local farms and ranches in the U.S. and skipping the chaos and imported meat at the grocery store. Good Ranchers delivers high-quality, 100% American meat straight to your door so you can start 2025 with better choices, better meals, and better moments at home. Remember to visit GoodRanchers.com and use my code TOMI, T-O-M-I, to claim $25 off, free express shipping, and your choice of free ground beef, chicken, or salmon in every order for an entire year. If spending more time with family, spending less money going out to eat, and eating quality, nutritious American food is on your resolution list this year, then be sure to visit GoodRanchers.com and use my code TOMI today for meat that delivers just that. GoodRanchers.com, American meat delivered. Also, please do not forget to subscribe, like, and comment on the Tomi Lahren is Fearless YouTube page at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. The show starts now. The Democrat resistance is going over like a lead balloon. The party that used to be the cool one is now culturally, morally, fiscally, and politically irrelevant. But since they still need to feel like they're doing something important, they gathered in major U.S. cities yesterday to protest Donald Trump and Elon Musk. I know yesterday was a federal holiday, President's Day, and some may have had the day off from work, but something tells me perhaps a good portion of those crowds just didn't have gainful employment to worry about reporting to on a Monday afternoon during normal working hours. I'll tell you, the hardworking Americans I know were not only at work yesterday, but are also quite happy with Elon and DOGE auditing the federal government for waste, fraud, and abuse. And I gotta say, the Democrat death hills I've been tracking in month one of Trump's second administration are really kind of bizarre. We've got waste, fraud, abuse, men and women's sports, illegal immigration, castration and sterilization of children, and newly added, or at least refreshed, the crime of free speech.
He was standing in a country where free speech was weaponized to conduct a genocide. And he met with the head of a political party that has far-right views and some historic ties to extreme groups. The context of that was changing the tone of it. And you know that the censorship was specifically about the right.
No, I have to disagree with you. Free speech was not used to conduct a genocide. The genocide was conducted by an authoritarian Nazi regime that happened to also be genocidal because they hated Jews and they hated minorities and they hated those that they had a list of people they hated, but primarily the Jews. There was no free speech in Nazi Germany. There was none. There was also no opposition in Nazi Germany. They were a sole and only party that governed that country. So that's not an accurate reflection of history.
Secretary Rubio did a great job of dumbing that down for poor Margaret, and generously, Vice President J.D. Vance was willing to do the same thing for those two gentlemen. But I'd sure love to dive into this conversation with someone from the other side of the aisle, but because perhaps maybe I'm missing something here. Joining me now is Democratic strategist Raj Goyle. Raj, it's been a while since you and I have had the great pleasure of having a wonderful dialogue, conversation / friendly debate. So I want to jump right in. Are you on the same page as many of your Democrat friends in opposing Elon Musk and the efforts of DOGE?
Yeah, well, Tomi, first of all, thanks for having me. Congratulations on the election. It's good to be back. And I was happy to see that you've got some sponsors there with some good organic meat there. I think I'm going to have to subscribe. That sounds good. I'm a health guy. Well, let me just jump in on DOGE right away, because, look, I've been noticing how you and your folks on your side, I think you think it's Christmas come early, and everything that Elon Musk does touches the gold, and it's waste, fraud, and abuse. But I got to say, frankly speaking, objectively, I'm all for tackling inefficiency. I was in the private sector. I ran a company and I invented a software against inefficiency in the private sector. But DOGE has absolutely jumped the shark. DOGE is almost a comic joke at this point, and not one of you can actually point to any substantive waste, fraud, and abuse that this so-called commission has actually uncovered. Let's go down the list quickly. You've got Republicans who are very antsy about this. Bill Cassidy saying we're firing FBI agents. You've got Jerry Moran saying my farmers need people to sell things to. And if you go to AID, which is that lovely, lovely whipping boy of you guys, I did some math, you probably have too, of all of the public pronouncements of what they have, quote, cut from that program, from that agency. It's not even the coffee budget. Sure, you've got some programs here and there, but it's totaled up about $50 million out of a $40 billion budget. Elon Musk is completely almost deranged at this point with his own almost narcissistic power. He thinks that anything he thinks is bad is bad. Anything that is good for SpaceX means it's good for the country. And so I think what's actually happening now is that the right wing, you guys have actually, the dog has caught the car. And now you guys are so far out on a limb on this DOGE stuff. This is not what people voted for. This is not the MAGA revolution. This is a guy going absolutely buck wild who has no clue about actually how these agencies work, how we are actually saving lives. And let me finish with one example, which is this horrible plane crash in Toronto. Thank God those people walked away. There were some people seriously injured. Let's hope that they're okay. Do you know why those people survived that crash? Because what you go around saying in your snarky comments about these federal folks, the FAA realized years ago that when the wing comes off a plane, it tears into the fuselage, it kills people, and the airplane blows up. So now the wing snaps off. Okay. And because we have federal regulations to wear our seatbelt, those 80 people were saved. Now, Elon Musk doesn't give a damn about that because he's going around, he's rich, he flies private. He doesn't realize how many lives are saved through competent government programs. So I want you to tell me, show me the waste, fraud, and abuse that this guy has actually uncovered, because I've got plenty of examples of things like nuclear safety inspectors that he fired, and he was and then he had to realize that he had to hire them back. So I want to know.
Raj, there's a lot there. I've been patiently waiting for you to conclude because I want to obviously be gracious to my guest. I obviously disagreed with almost everything that you said there, apart from the American meat that you started with. So I want to dig in a little bit. There's a lot. So let me kind of go back and process everything that you said. I want to start off with just the whole thing about the plane crash and the seatbelts and all that. To my knowledge, DOGE has not gone after seatbelts on aircraft. So I'm not entirely sure how that figures into the discussion. And I don't, and
they fired the head of the FAA on day one.
They did not fire him. They fired the head of the FAA on day one. No, he quit before, Raj. That's fake news.
Okay.
He quit?
He quit. Got it. Nice little dodge there.
No, he quit. He quit before this administration took hold. We'll discuss.
And they took away the safety committee because they said it should be for national security. You can't have it both ways here. You can't go around slashing the agencies and then claim that they don't have an effect.
Raj. I let you talk. You must let me talk now. That's how this works.
Please.
Plus, it's not Raj is fearless. It's Tomi Lahren is fearless. So I do have to take a little bit of control back, Raj. Although I do love to be gracious to you and let you talk. I want to dig into this. So I'm going to go ahead, as I do on all of my Liberal Tuesdays. I'm going to concede a couple of points. I'm going to say this. I don't disagree with you that there are important government agencies that need to be able to operate at full capacity and need to be funded at full capacity. I don't disagree with you there. I think the FAA and a lot of things that's going on with air traffic control, I think there's a lot of problems there. And I think a lot of it actually stemmed back to 2020 through 2023, when a lot of the folks in the airline industry were pushed out of that industry due to not only COVID lockdowns, shutdowns, decreased air travel, but also vaccine mandates. So I think there's a lot to be done. And I hope more will be done. I think we need to train qualified air traffic controllers. I don't know if we need to make sure that we're paying these people so that they want to enter that field. I think that that is a worthwhile discussion to have. But when you say, Raj, that Elon Musk and DOGE have not uncovered any government waste, fraud, and abuse. I mean, it's a daily thing. We can watch it scroll. And I could sit here and I could pull out the list and we could go through them and I could have you defend $70,000 for DEI plays in Ireland or condoms for Mozambique. I mean, we could go through the list, $20 million for Sesame Street in Iraq. There's a lot of things. And yes, those are the ones that are the most egregious, obviously, that I disagree with wholeheartedly. But when we're looking at the books and he's putting it out there transparently for the American people to see, I don't understand where the outrage from the left comes from that, unless you do think that we should be spending money on DEI initiatives in foreign nations.
I appreciate that very much, Tommy, and I appreciate the civil discussion. So I have to just point out, you rattled off 3 examples there. They total up about $100,000. What about FBI agents that your own Senator Bill Cassidy is very worried about? What about the farmers who actually can't get paid? How about the USAID person who's on medical bed rest because of she's pregnant, she has a medical emergency, she can get approval for a med evacuation, she may lose that baby. So this, what I'd like to say is, having been a CEO, if anybody else, if Walmart, an incredible company, a Fortune 5, really a Fortune 1 company, as they like to say. I've tried to sell into Walmart. I've been down in Bentonville several times. Would they ever allow somebody like Elon Musk and his merry band of sometimes racist young folks to come in and just start playing around and unilaterally, without thought and without true auditing? This is not an audit. I've been through audits. Those of us who run companies know all about audits. This isn't auditing. This is like playing around with people's lives for fun and sport, because Elon Musk thinks that whatever he does is ordained by God, or as he likes to say, he likens himself to Genghis Khan. This is very strange stuff that the American people are not happy with. So right now there is a hangover from the election, Tommy. You guys won the election free and clear. I have been very critical of the Democratic Party. I will do so on this show now with you about how we need to get our act together. We need to understand why we got our butts kicked in this election. That, I will tell you, having been in politics for 35 years, there is a pendulum to things. And yes, Democrats, we can't just rely on that pendulum swinging back. But I guarantee you, as a guy who used to represent a Trump district before we called them Trump districts, this is not what people voted for.
Well,
they do not want this kind of, they want waste, fraud, and abuse eliminated. But so far, you haven't mentioned anything. And I've gone through every public pronouncement of Elon Musk. There's no beef there. Would he please get into the Pentagon? That would be amazing.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has welcomed him into the Pentagon to look through those books as well. I just want to say something to your point about Walmart. So if the CEO of Walmart appointed somebody, which is, I would liken Donald Trump to the CEO of the United States of America, who appointed Elon Musk as an advisor to come in and look at the book. So this notion that Walmart CEO wouldn't allow somebody that they appointed to come in and look things over, I kind of reject that metaphor there. But we're going to waste.
Tommy, if I could, just quickly on that point, I take your point, and I would say, but look what you just did, that phrase, to go look things over. I'm all for looking things over. I would love that if we actually had a proper auditing process. As I said, let's get into Pentagon procurement. That thing is an absolute albatross. That is, go look at the defense contractors around Washington, D.C. It's one of the richest areas in America because people are getting fat off government contracts and useless contracts. I'm all for that. But that's not what Elon Musk has done. I have pointed out to you 5 to 7 examples, and you've given me some DEI overseas for $50,000.
You gave me an anecdote about somebody who's pregnant.
Oh,
but
no.
To the point.
No. I also told you FBI agents of Bill Cassidy, talking about Jerry Moran, a very Republican senator, somebody I know who I served with in elected office in Kansas, being very worried about who our farmers were selling to after the slashing of AID programs. We've got example after example. We have cut Forest Service people in the age of wildfires. This is indiscriminate.
Well, I don't think you want to get into I don't think you want to defend Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass when it comes to wildfires.
I didn't mention Newsom and Bass. I mentioned the fact that we need to make sure that we protect our forests and our parks.
Right.
I would think you would agree with that.
Oh, I do as well, but I don't think we want to get into the weeds of wildfire prevention, because I don't think Democrats are necessarily the poster children for efficiency when it comes to that. But I do want to discuss.
Well, and actually, at this point, we'll only get worse, because now we've got a guy again. Where is any consistency? You know what? He puts out this big tweet. I found millions, 20 million people who are over 100 years old who are on the Social Security rolls. Not one of them gets a check. It's 100-year-old system that started before computers.
So do you agree that we need to modernize the system? Can I at least get that concession from you? That maybe
of course we should. I'm a tech guy.
Okay.
100% we should modernize it. It kills me that we have government systems that are out of date. But let me ask you a question, Tommy. Have you ever tried to get a human on the phone at Verizon? Have you ever tried to mess with Citibank when I tried to close an account? The private sector has bloat and excess all over it. And if anybody tells you different, they haven't worked in the private sector.
Sure,
so we should hate inefficiency everywhere, Tommy. Oh, of course we do. Well, the banks have a huge impact on our daily lives.
Yes,
Verizon, you don't think we pay for Verizon? There's only a few cell phone carriers.
We're not paying our tax dollars not go to solely fund.
Well, I agree with that, but we also
and it does. But I'm not. I mean, I'm not. If I'm a T-Mobile customer, I'm not paying for Verizon. But I will say this.
Okay.
The metaphors are great, but I have to move on because I have a lot to talk to you about. And I would love to just keep talking about DOGE because personally, I'm really passionate about it. But something that you did say, you and I are going to disagree on this. You're going to say, oh, there's people that are going to lose their jobs. Listen, the left had no problem shutting down people's businesses or firing people for failure to get a COVID vax. So the crying about people are going to lose their jobs, like, I'm sorry, spare me. But I do want to have a little bit of a discussion here about what you said, that this is not what people voted for. I would disagree with you. And if I look at the approval rating for Donald Trump, it's higher than it's ever been. So when you say this is not what people want, well, maybe not the obese green hairs that are protesting in D.C., but the American people did vote for this. And I understand that they're the protests and they're dragging around Donald Trump dolls and they're singing about Elon. And I saw it. I mean, it was the theatrics. It was great work. Maybe we could send that $70,000 we spent on a DEI play in Ireland and send it back to these folks. Maybe they could get some
singing lessons.
Yeah, that would be great. But I do think that the American people did vote for this, and I do think people are pleased, and that's not me saying it, that's the polls indicating that.
No, let me jump into that. I think you make some great points. Two important points, which is Donald Trump, the shock and awe of the last 30 days has been just that. He is practicing politics at a very sophisticated level. And let's be very clear, the media can't keep up. Democrats certainly aren't keeping up. So I am not surprised to see his approval ratings go up because, look, elections do have consequences. I can't deny that he is following up on some of the things he said he would do. That's a fair point. Notice, though, Tommy, Elon Musk's poll numbers are dropping like a stone because people don't know who this guy is. They know he's the richest guy in the world. And do you think anybody in a million years thinks that this guy is going to cut a SpaceX contract? He had to walk back that $400 million boondoggle that Marco Rubio is going to do to have a Tesla contract. They had to walk that back. You know he's going to get that back in. So the point is that I'm not surprised.
You know, it wasn't Trump.
Well, listen,
it was Biden.
No. Well, listen, I'll tell you, everybody knows that Elon Musk is self-interested, and everybody knows that a richest guy in the world isn't going to go around, not feathering his own nest. So that's why you're seeing it divide, and you are seeing more and more grumbling from the right wing, from Republicans who said, whoa, wait a second here. There are some essential people here. If there are duplicative programs, I am the first person to stand up and say, let's get rid of those. I'm a modernization guy, a technology guy. We should use the spirit of innovation to actually help our country and move our society and economy forward. I'll never shrink from that. Many Democrats will never shrink from that. But that is not what's going on with DOGE. If he was going after actual big, fat programs that are duplicative and unnecessary and that their cutting of them doesn't endanger us, I'm all for it. But I haven't heard boo in the 30 days of anything like that. And that's why I think, and I think, Tommy, you're a very sophisticated political player. I think Donald Trump is laughing all the way to the bank that Elon Musk is doing his dirty work here. So Trump and the president can sit there and stand on top of the fray while Musk is here mixing it up, doing all these crazy things. And Donald Trump is actually having some separation there. So again, he is a very sophisticated political player, and I will grant him that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I think that's a good play. I will say this. I want to close the conversation on DOGE because I have a lot more to talk to you about. But I want to say what I have heard, and not even being snarky about it, just processing it and observing it. It's that Democrats, or those that are unhappy, they agree that we have waste, fraud, and abuse. They don't like the speed with which Elon Musk is closing things, going after things, uncovering things, exposing things, however you want to say it. I would say from my perspective, I don't fully disagree that Elon Musk is a bull in a china shop. He certainly is. But I would say this, just to put a button on it. if we've had prior administrations, including the Obama administration, going all the way back to the Clinton administration, that have said we need to root out waste, fraud, and abuse, and none of these administrations have been able to do it with those standard practices, perhaps a bull in a china shop approach is what we need. Now, I'm not saying it's going perfectly. I'm not saying that there are not going to be bumps in the road. Raj, you're buffering out, and it's not even me that's doing it. It's just the internet connection. But as soon as we get you unfrozen, I have many more things to talk about. So while we get you back, I want to go into the free speech discussion because we have to move along. So I was a little perplexed, Raj, to see CBS not only in the morning but also in the evening having a real issue with free speech. I'm a little confused as to why CBS, a media organization, was quite literally salivating over the idea of censorship and criminalizing speech. I'm hoping that you don't agree with this model, but I'm curious to know your take.
Yeah, 2 points on this, Tommy, and it's a really important debate, which is Germany, under its watch in just the last 100 years, had one of the largest genocides, one of the most shameful acts in human history happen on its soil. So Germany took an approach which doesn't feel very American to us because we believe in more free speech here. I used to be an ACLU attorney. Remember, the ACLU almost bankrupted itself defending the rights of skinheads and the Klan members to march in Skokie, Illinois. So the free speech tradition in America is very different than it is in Europe. That's for them to decide. So the idea that there should be free speech, it does feel foreign to us, both literally and metaphorically, to have this notion that just because somebody says something or has an insult, that's not a very American idea. But I want to point out something very, very importantly, which is it's easy to go beat up on Germany. Fine, do it all day long. Let's talk about what's happening right here in America. Do you, Tommy, agree that 60 Minutes reporters and editors should be in prison? Because Donald Trump and his most important advisor, who you love dearly, Elon Musk, said that 60 Minutes that those folks should be in prison. So it's not really free speech that Elon Musk and Donald Trump seem to be after. It's about the speech they like.
Wait
that's
a
huge,
second, Raj.
huge distinction.
Raj, are you talking about the deceptive edit of a presidential candidate where they made her sound slightly less dumb and they concocted this interview by splicing different pieces together?
Tommy, don't go there. I read every transcript that made it on the editing floor. I don't know if you did. I read every transcript. That is the biggest nothing burger story ever. 60 Minutes did nothing deceptively. I am totally up for criticizing 60 Minutes and the mainstream media all day long. But that Kamala Harris quote unquote scandal was a joke.
Well,
but that's not even the point. Let's even say they did it. Should they go to prison?
No, I don't think they should go to prison. That's not my position.
So why did Elon Musk say it?
Well, I don't know, Raj, if you think that I'm like a press secretary for Elon Musk. I'm certainly not. Like, I like things that Elon Musk does, and I don't like other things that he says and does, but that's not my job to defend Elon Musk. I didn't vote for Elon Musk. I think he's done some good things, and I think that he's an advisor to President Trump in certain areas. But I'm not going to debate with you like, well, Elon Musk said this. I also think, in my perfect world, Fauci
Donald
would
Trump
go to
talking
jail.
about jailing reporters?
All right.
How about Donald Trump saying that we should jail reporters?
He said it
many times.
Do I think they need to be sued? Perhaps. But you did something really clever there, Raj. You completely distracted from the topic at hand, and you went to something else. So I want to ask you again, and I want to ask you again. Do you think that members of the American media should be salivating over the idea of jailing people for insults online?
I don't know why you're talking about Germany. Our president has talked for years about jailing reporters. I'm asking you. You've said amazingly that Elon Musk is wrong for saying 60 Minutes people should be sent to prison. But now I have a question. Skydance wants to buy Paramount. Donald Trump has sued Paramount. They own CBS. And now there's a very open question around the fact that part of the reason that Paramount may settle with Donald Trump personally, this is him personally, is because they want the merger approval to go through. Do you think that smells a little funny, Tommy?
I am not getting, Raj, if you and I want to get into the weeds of a lot of things, we're going to need a much longer show. But what I'm asking you here is the premise of my actual question about these CBS reporters sitting on 60 Minutes and salivating over the idea of citizens being put in jail for their speech online, and because they might insult somebody or use the wrong pronoun. To me, that's
I didn't hear
insane.
that. you saying salivate, I heard them asking some questions. And as I said, if Germany wants to go more restrictive on free speech, let the Germans deal with it. I thought we're Americans here, Tommy. We're talking about America. I worry about free speech here. I would not have the free speech rules that they have in Germany. No question.
Okay. Well,
I wouldn't have them in Britain.
That up.
So,
at least
but that's sort of obvious. The real issue is what's happening with our current president.
Okay. Well, Raj, listen. The next thing I want to go to, and I don't have a ton of time left, but I'm really going to be, you're a spin master, Raj, and I give you a lot of credit. You are a strategist indeed. You love to go, everything is all back to Trump and Elon. It's like, I think you guys get on a call in the morning and you're like, Trump and Elon. But I want to go on to the next thing because I'm really passionate about this. Okay. So, Raj, I think prior to the election, you told me that we needed the bipartisan border bill in order to secure the border. But, it turns out, Raj, we didn't. Tom Homan and Donald Trump and ICE and CBP, they're managing to get border crossings down to like in a couple hundreds rather than thousands per day. So I'm wondering if that whole noise about needing the bipartisan border bill and all that, I'm wondering if you think that that really was just a talking point. Are you seeing that it can be done now? Is it magic? How do you account for this?
I think it's a fair question, and I think everybody should applaud the fact that we've got order, that we have far less chaos on the southern border. And I think the voters obviously spoke on that issue. I do think that the Democratic Party was obviously out of touch on the importance of having a secure border. Look, I'm from a family of immigrants. I'm the first person born in this country in my family, and of course, there's a lot of people in legal immigrant families who understand that security and order and process is good for our country. The comprehensive bill, just to be clear, border security was a huge component, but that was a comprehensive solution, Tommy. So you're a little bit comparing to apples and oranges there. That issue was to actually bring resolution to the issue of undocumented folks in our country, who has work permits, what criminal undocumented folks should be, what should happen with them right now. And so what we have is, look, Donald Trump did win the election. There's a lot of folks who say, listen, if we have criminal elements among people who shouldn't be here, let's get them out. I don't think there's really a lot of disagreement about that. The issue now, and as you said, around the border, is that, of course, there is a Trump effect. And I think we would be naive to not acknowledge that fact. But we now have a very separate issue, which is, what are we going to do about our broken immigration policy and our broken immigration systems? So, I did see some report that actually apprehensions and enforcement domestically within cities is actually down even compared to the Biden era. So I've seen Kristi Noem play dress up.
Well,
I've seen her go do these raids.
Coming across, Raj. It's great. You don't have to
remember.
We've got
a vast population within the country already.
Oh, they need to go.
But
too.
Look,
yeah, they also need to go. Yeah.
And so let me ask you about that, Tommy. Do you agree? Every single person who's undocumented, who's overstayed a visa, you think should leave this country, even if they're a hardworking family paying their taxes and sending their kids to school and having a job?
Well, Raj, I'm glad you asked. Here's the deal. I think that we need to start with the criminals, and then we need to move on to the 10 million that Biden let in the last 4 years, many under fraudulent circumstances, fake asylum claims. I think we need to deal with those people first. And then the people that have been in this country for 10, 15, 20 years, we can have a discussion about those folks and what we're going to do here. But I would argue that the 10 million that came in the last 4 years when the floodgates were opened, I would argue I don't really care if they are Mother Teresa. You come into this country illegally, you should face the consequences of your illegal action. And I do believe that once you remove millions of people who came here illegally over the last 4 years, I think then you can start welcoming people in legally because you're not so overrun and overburdened, that you can actually bring people into this country that are going to make it a better place, and not people that are going to have BS asylum claims or live in the Roosevelt Hotel and run a brothel. So I think that we're in positive steps moving forward here, Raj, and I know that you're excited to see it too.
Well, I would say this. What you just said, just to be clear, you said two contradictory things there. You said, "Hey, let's get them all out," and then you backpedaled. And I understand that because you're a human person, and you realize that there's actually not only is it not moral or humanistic, but it's also not realistic that you're just simply going to uproot 15 million folks, many of them who are adding to our economy and adding to our society. But I hear you, and I do think there is a broadening bipartisan understanding now, Tommy, that says, listen, if we've got there is no reason why we should be having criminal gangs who are people who shouldn't even be in the country legally. I think we can all agree this is not good for our cities. It's not good for our states and localities. And there is now how we go about that. And now we are seeing many, many upstanding folks who are afraid to go to school, afraid to go to work. And that's obviously the intent of the Trump administration, to do shock and awe. But we are seeing in real communities how that's having a very, very negative effect. We saw that even during the campaign. So we obviously are going to have a national discussion around how we move forward. But I will say, and I'll be unafraid to say it, that having an orderly process at the border is a good thing. Nobody should suggest otherwise.
So the last thing I want to ask you on this topic, because I do have to skedaddle here, but do you think that the correct message from Democrats should be, even this is the more reasonable Democrats, there are Democrats, in fact, who don't even want to remove the criminal aliens. They don't want to work with ICE, but we'll just put those people on the fringe. The Democrats that are even saying, yes, we need to get the criminal aliens out. Now, Raj, I would argue that if you come across the border, you're already a criminal alien because you broke the first law entering our country. But let's just say you committed a crime by coming here illegally and then you committed more crimes. But do you think the correct message from Democrats should be, you can come here illegally, just don't rape or murder anybody after you come across illegally and you'll be fine? Do you think that that's the correct messaging that should go out from the Democrat Party?
Well, what you just said is what J.D. Vance said during the campaign. J.D. Vance said exactly that point in which he said we're going to focus on criminal folks first.
He said
and then
focus. Yes, we need to focus on them first. But it doesn't mean that the others are not on the table. Raj, you're great at not answering my question, but I'm asking you, at least on this parting question, do you think the correct message should be, you can come here illegally so long as you don't commit more crimes once you're here?
No, I mean, obviously we shouldn't have anyone here who's committing crimes, and we should have, people want safety, they want order, they don't want crime from any place in America. I think that goes without saying. If I could, Tommy, before you let me go, and again, I appreciate you having me on, I do want to ask you quickly, which is Donald Trump sent an incredible tweet over the weekend where he says, if I'm saving the country, I do not violate the law. Some attribute that to a Napoleonic concept. Do you agree? Is there any circumstance in which Donald Trump could break the law?
Oh, Raj, you're obsessed with him. I think you're on Truth Social. I think you got your alerts on. I don't read every Truth Social post that Donald Trump
You're avoiding
puts
the
out.
question,
but you know
Tommy.
what?
You're
Donald
fearless.
Trump is,
You're fearless.
Raj, you know what Donald Trump also said last week when he was asked, will you abide by the courts? And he said, yes, I'll abide by the courts. I might not agree with him, but he said, I'll abide by the courts. And he has. So the courts.
What an amazing accomplishment that the president abides by the courts. Oh, my God. Let's throw a party.
You just said that he's going to do whatever he wants. It's a constitutional crisis, but he's already said.
I didn't say that. He said the words that he can't violate the law if he's saving the country, which is, of course, the determination only he subjectively makes.
Said he's going to abide by the courts. He already said
But you didn't answer my question. Do you think there's a circumstance in which Donald Trump could break the law?
There's a circumstance in which you and I could break the law. That's
right. Does that apply to Donald Trump?
Of course it applies to anybody. Nobody is above the law. But what I'm saying is you're picking out a Truth Social post to try to get me, and I don't understand.
Oh no, I'm not trying to get you. You're a thoughtful conservative who I respect, and so I want to know. And you've already said, and I appreciate it. I think I've told you my views that are maybe a little bit unconventional from some Democratic orthodoxy, and you have said that Musk is incorrect on the 60 Minutes tweet, and that Trump is incorrect over the weekend. So I think there's a lot of folks who are looking at this administration, and sure, there's a lot of tweets and there's a lot of Truth Social posts, so there's a lot of shock and awe going on, so it's very hard to focus. But I will get back to the theme as we wrap up here, Tommy, which is to say, I do think that the American people are looking at what this administration is doing, and they're liking a lot of it, but they've also got some deep questions about a lot of it as well.
Well, you know what?
And that will continue to build.
They're welcome to have questions, but I want to give you a parting tidbit of advice, Raj, for you and for Democrats out there, because I have Democrat friends, right? I count you as my friend here on Outkick. Okay, Raj. So I want to give you a little bit of advice. If y'all are going to get so upset and get your knickers in a twist every time Donald Trump puts out a Truth Social post, it's going to be a long 4 years for you guys. There's not enough tequila in the world that's going to tranquilize you on the weekends. If you pay attention to every Truth Social, every word, every capital letter, every exclamation point, you guys are going to go nuts. And sometimes I think maybe that's the point. I think Donald Trump does it to troll you guys, but you guys 100%. Can't get so upset upset about everything. Some of these things got to be like water off a duck's back, Raj, and that'll help you to feel better and more serene over these next
Tomi,
4 years.
I know you're just looking out for Democrats' best wishes. You want us to do well. I'm sure that's why you're giving that advice. But look, we can end. I obviously totally agree. I've been a voice in my world for that for many years, which is obviously he does distraction, he does the shock and awe, and we shouldn't be swinging at every pitch. And now I guess elected Democrats have finally started to say that. But you're right. I mean, there's a lot of signal and a lot of noise, and so sorting that out is it takes a lot of focus and takes a lot of practice. I will conclude by saying this, which is, we went out as a party and we said that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. We said that he would be a fascist. We said all these things, and our nominee said that. But it looks like we, instead of actually preparing for reacting to the things that Donald Trump said he would do, and then in many cases has done, that we've been actually pretty unprepared. And so that's been, I think, a big disappointment for many of us. And I think that's why now, of course, it's very easy. We are right now at our lowest of a 48-month cycle, Tomi. You know how these things go. We just lost an election. We lost it, down the line. We did better than maybe some expected down ballot, but you've got the quadfecta. So things will ratchet back up. As I said, I think the Trump shtick is going to wear thin pretty quickly, particularly Elon's shtick is wearing already thin. But I do think for our side that we must take seriously the fact that we not, as I like to say, this isn't like a passing indigestion that, you just sort of like let go quickly. This is, there's a serious illness, in the patient right now. And yes, it can be absolutely fixed. And I think we can get stronger. And I'm excited. I've never been more excited to actually be a Democrat
so
because there's a lot of work to do.
You guys have a lot of work to do, and you're going to be very busy as a Democrat strategist. Raj, I always appreciate our conversation. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Tomi.
All right, folks. Joe and Coconut told us the border could not be secured without that trash bipartisan border bill. But just like magic, President Trump and border czar Tom Homan have beaten the odds and done it anyway. It's time for Final Thoughts, sponsored by Good Ranchers.
Doing nothing is not an option. Republicans have to decide. For years, they said they want to secure the border. Now they have the strongest border bill this country has ever seen. We're seeing statements about how many oppose the bill now. Look, I understand the former president is desperately trying to stop this bill because he's not interested in solving the border problem. He wants a political issue to run against me on. They've all but said that across the board. No one really denies that I'm aware of. The American people want a solution.
Well, I have strongly supported the comprehensive border security bill. Written last year, as you know, by a bipartisan group of senators, including one of the most conservative members of the United States Congress. It was the strongest border security bill we have seen in decades. It was endorsed by the Border Patrol Union. And it should be in effect today, producing results in real time right now for our country.
So after Joe and Kamala allowed 10 million plus illegals to invade this nation, they told us they couldn't stop the flow without that sham bipartisan border bill. Well, that was the talking point anyway, but it was BS back then and it's BS now given. Hang on to your hats, folks. It's taken less than a month for President Trump and border czar Tom Homan to not only get border crossings way down, but get arrests, deportations, and removals way, way up. So in case you bought that line of crap that the mass invasion was an accident or a coincidence or unpreventable or anything other than a choice, I hope to goodness you see it now. The situation is improving so rapidly, in fact, that a San Diego migrant shelter closed down due to lack of illegals. Of all the things one could lack, I think illegals ranks high on the list and in the best way. If a migrant shelter in San Diego, California, of all places, that close to the border in a sanctuary state, can close its damn doors, well, that's a huge testament to Trump and Tom Homan. In the words of Elle Woods, what, like it's hard? No, it turns out it wasn't hard. Just got to enforce the law and stop incentivizing people to come here illegally. I mean, let's just think about it. What person would pay a criminal organization thousands of dollars to be smuggled here only to be denied, detained, or turned around, or even sent to a frickin' Gitmo? The gravy train on biscuit wheels has been stopped in its tracks, and it only took, well, not even a month. But as excited as I am about it all, I want to caution you about getting too excited. See, for the next 4 years, the situation is going to be under control. But if a Democrat gets elected in 2028, we are back to the same game, and the doors will fly open again, and all the work that Tom and Trump and ICE and CBP did will be for naught. And these agencies that Trump put the kibosh on, like the Office of Refugee Resettlement, will be right back to throwing your tax money at crap like this. Our watchful friends over at Open the Books uncovered over $22 billion in friggin' giveaways to illegals during Biden's regime. That money went to, get this, helping illegals save for car and home purchases, programs to help illegals build their credit, plus legal assistance and even cultural orientation. So we must keep our eyes on the ball and keep supporting not only the efforts of Tom Homan and ICE, but also of DOGE. Never again. Those are my final thoughts. Please be sure to tune in tomorrow live at 1 p.m. Eastern on outkick.com and foxnews.com. Also catch full episodes of this show on Fox Nation whenever you like. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Tomi Lahren is Fearless. From Nashville, God bless and take care. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more of my hottest takes, must-see conversations, and of course, my final thoughts, click here and make sure you subscribe here so you never miss a beat. I'll be here every weekday, and I hope you'll join me.